With all of the talk about a possible economic recession and a shift occurring in the current housing market, there's a lot of discussion about whether there may or may not be another foreclosure crisis like there was back in 2008, 2009. Not likely. The saving grace this time? Home equity. Stick around, we're going to get into that today. Hello Central Maine, it is your realtor Nick Isgro with eXp Realty, and as I just said at the beginning, we're going to talk a little bit today about home equity because there has been such a dramatic shift of a lot of things in the housing market. Something that has flown under the radar is the major shift in the home equity values that homeowners have now compared to years that we've seen in the past. Now, before I get into that, I do want to welcome you here to the channel. If you've never been here before, we cover all things real estate here in the state of Maine, but particularly in the Central Maine market. If that's of interest to you or adds value to your process in the buying and selling of homes, do me a favor. Go ahead and like this video, hit subscribe, knock that little alarm bell. You'll be notified every time we put out new content. Right out of the gate, the good news is that all of the experts seem to now be in agreement that we will not see another massive foreclosure crisis like we saw in the early mid-2000s. The reason for this is twofold. Not only have we had much tighter lending standards as we had in the past, this is something we've covered in fact just a few weeks ago here in this channel, but also because Americans now have historically high levels of home equity. So why would that make a difference? Well, it's because the overall number of homeowners who are even at risk of forbearance is rapidly decreasing over time. I want to bring up a quick chart right here so you can actually see this. Take a look at this. This is a chart that shows percentages of mortgages that are in forbearance headed into foreclosure process over time. You can see we've just now finally declined to 0.69%. Look at this dramatic decrease over time. Now this is obviously has to do with the tighter lending standards as fresh loans come into the marketplace and they're been underwritten with the new standards. There's going to be a lot less bad debt going out into the market to begin with, a lot less homeowners likely to see their loan turn south as we saw in the past when we had a lot looser standards and a lot of government pressure and things like that. But another thing that we're seeing is that through this, a lot of the mortgages are being paid down. And with the shift we saw in the market over the last couple of years, the dramatic rise in the amount of home equity that is going to keep people safe for a couple of reasons. The first is obviously that equity is going to help you sell your house. Well, how would that be? Well, the average American right now has about $300,000 in home equity, or I should say the average homeowner in America. That's a huge shift over the last 10 to 15 years. What we're seeing is that homes that may be starting into the foreclosure process is family budgets are getting squeezed, whereas before you might have had extremely high loan to value relationships. Now with that additional home equity, a lot of these homeowners, if they're having financial problems, can sell their home, pay off the debt before it goes into foreclosure, and actually put themselves in a much better situation, get themselves into a less stressful situation. So that's one of the great things about this rise in home equity is that there's always going to be a percentage of folks who fall on hard times for one reason or another. The job market, whatever it is, they may not be able to meet the payments that they were originally obligated to. If you have that additional home equity and it's actually above and beyond the loan that you've been paying on for the last 10 to 15 years, then you're going to be able to sell the home, get out from under that debt, and put yourself in just a much better scenario. It's important to note here too that there are other means as well of avoiding the foreclosure process. If you are going through that, if you're having a tough time, a lot of banks are going to work with you through several means. Some of them include loan modification. Loan modification is you go to the bank, they assess whether this was a one-time scenario, perhaps you lost your job or you were ill, you were in hospital, it's a temporary event, you missed those payments, looks like there's going to be some action on the loan, but now you have a plan to get back on track. Sometimes the bank will do a loan modification to get you through that period and set you up for future success once you're back on track. There's also a deed in lieu of foreclosure. So a deed in lieu of foreclosure would be where you voluntarily deed the property back to the bank because of the asset or whatever is willing to take that asset back from you and release you from your financial obligation on the loan. That would happen in a scenario, obviously, where the bank knows that it's going to have a process to get their money back, to get their investment back that they had put into that asset as well. Typically, it's probably with current home equity values, be a situation where the bank might see a way to actually go above and beyond that ability. The last way is to potentially have a short sale. So a short sale is something that you work out with the bank, that you would sell the home for basically less than what was owed. It does affect your taxes. It does affect a lot of other things. So all of these things, you want to be sure that if you're headed in that direction, talk to your accountant and talk to your banker as soon as possible, because with any of these scenarios, obviously being proactive is going to put you in a much greater position than if you just kind of wait and let things happen to you. But either way, the good news here, purpose of this video is to show you that it is very unlikely that we're going to see a massive slew of foreclosures like we saw in the previous housing crisis. And we are finally at a point where it does seem that all of the experts are agreeing on that. And don't forget, all of that home equity that is available in the market isn't always going to be used just to sell the home and save it from foreclosure. Oftentimes people are going to use that equity to borrow against for improvements to the home, expansion to the home, things that are actually going to continue to add value to that home over time. So it looks like in this situation, the American homeowner is well positioned with their asset, and it doesn't look like from any predictions that that's going to change anytime soon. If you are in the market right now, or if this is a topic that interests you, would love to get your comments down below. Would love to hear from you there. I know every now and again I'll run into someone that swears that there's going to be another slew of foreclosures. I'm just not seeing it, and it looks like the experts are not seeing it too. Home equity, stricter lending standards really being the saving grace here, as well as no real major prediction of a massive decline in values. So those are all things that are holding up the housing market. Again, as we always say, the really tight level of inventory that we have, that continues to have, is also going to continue to squeeze and maintain values in the marketplace. If you are in the market right now, you're looking to buy or sell, or maybe you're just looking for a little bit of information, a little bit of guidance as to what's going on right here in the central Maine market, all of my contact information is linked in the post below. Please reach out. I promise you that I'll get right back to you. Of course, everyone, I thank each and every one of you for sticking around to the end of this video, and until the next one, we'll see you next time.